A banyan is a fig that starts its life as an epiphyte when its seeds germinate in the cracks and crevices on a host tree or on buildings and bridges. Banyan often refers specifically to the Indian banyan, which is the national tree of the Republic of India, though the term has been generalized to include all figs that share a characteristic life cycle, and systematically to refer to the subgenus Urostigma. Like other fig species, banyans bear multiple fruit-in structures called syncarps. The Ficus syncarp supply shelter and food for fig wasps, and in turn, the trees are totally dependent on the fig wasps for pollination. The seeds of banyans are dispersed by fruit-eating birds. The seeds are small, and most banyans grow in forests, so a plant germinating from a seed that lands on the ground is unlikely to survive. However, many seeds land on branches and stems of trees or on buildings. When those seeds germinate, they send roots down towards the ground, and may envelop part of the host tree or building structure, giving banyans the casual name of strangler fig. The strangling growth habit is found in a number of tropical forest species, particularly of the genus Ficus, that compete for light. Any Ficus species showing this habit may be termed a strangler fig. The leaves of the banyan tree are large, leathery, glossy green, and elliptical in shape. Like most fig trees, the leaf bud is covered by two large scales. As the leaf develops, the scales fall. Young leaves have an attractive reddish tinge. Older banyan trees are characterized by their aerial prop roots that grow into thick woody trunks, which can become indistinguishable from the main trunk with age. Old trees can spread out laterally, using these prop roots to cover a wide area. In some species, the effect is for the props to develop into a sort of forest covering a considerable area. Every trunk connected directly or indirectly to the central trunk. The topology of this structure of interconnection inspired the name of the hierarchical computer network operating system Banyan vines. In a banyan that envelops a support tree, the mesh of roots growing around the support tree eventually applies very considerable pressure and commonly kills the tree. Such an enveloped, dead tree eventually rots away, so the banyan becomes a columnar tree with a hollow central core. In jungles, such hollows are particularly desirable shelters to many animals. Etymology. The name was originally given to F. bengalensis and comes from India, where early travelers observed that the shade of the tree was frequented by banyas or Indian traders. In the Gujarati language, banya means grocer, a merchant, not tree. The Portuguese picked up the word to refer specifically to Hindu merchants, and passed it along to the English as early as 1599 with the same meaning. By 1634, English writers began to tell of the banyan tree, a tree under which Hindu merchants conducted the business. The tree provided a shaded place for a village meeting for merchants to sell the goods. Eventually, banyan became the name of the tree itself. Classification. The original banyan F. bengalensis can grow into a giant tree covering several hectares. Over time, the name became generalized to all strangler figs of the Urostigma subgenus. The many banyan species include Ficus microcarpa, which is native from Sri Lanka through New Caledonia, is a significant invasive species elsewhere. The Central American banyan is native to Central America and northern South America, from southern Mexico south to Paraguay. The shortleaf fig is native to southern Florida, the Caribbean islands, Central America, and South America south to Paraguay. One theory is that the Portuguese name for F. citrifolia os Barbados gave Barbados its name. The Florida strangler fig is also native to southern Florida and the Caribbean islands, and distinguished from the above by its coarser leaf venation. The Moreton Bay fig and Port Jackson fig are other related species. Ornamental value. Due to the complex structure of the roots and extensive branching, the banyan is extensively used for creating bonsai. Taiwan's oldest living bonsai is a 240-year-old banyan housed in Tainan. In culture, religion and mythology, banyan trees figure prominently in several Asian and Pacific religions and myths, including, the banyan tree is the national tree of India. It is also called Indian or Bengal fig. This tree is considered sacred in India and can be seen near a temple or religious center. It is a big tree and gives shade to travelers in very hot summer months. An old custom offers worship to this tree. In Hinduism, the leaf of the banyan tree is said to be the resting place for the god Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, "There is a banyan tree which has its roots upward and its branches down, and the Vedic hymns are its leaves. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas." Here the material world is described as a tree whose roots are upwards and branches are below. We have experience of a tree whose roots are upward. If one stands on the bank of a river or any reservoir of water, he can see that the trees reflected in the water are upside down. The branches go downward and the roots upward. Similarly, this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. The material world is but a shadow of reality. In the shadow there is no reality or substantiality, but from the shadow we can understand that there is substance and reality. The banyan tree is also considered sacred and is called Vatvi Vriksha in Sanskrit, in Telugu known as Mari Vrikshamu, and in Tamil known as Ala Maram. The god Shiva as Dakshinamurthy is nearly always depicted sitting in silence under the banyan with rishis at his feet. It is thought of as perfectly symbolizing eternal life due to its seemingly unending expansion. In spoken Marathi, the tree is known as Vat, derived from the original Sanskrit word vata for the tree. Married Marathi women observe a fast called Vat Savitri Vrat for the well-being and long life of the husband. Tying a thread around the banyan vat tree is an important part of the ritual. In modern parlance in the Hindi language, it is known as Bhagad Vatavriksha and Barh. In Buddhism's Pali Canon, the banyan is referenced numerous times. Typical metaphors allude to the banyan's epiphytic nature, likening the banyan's supplanting of a host tree as comparable to the way sensual desire overcomes humans. The Lamsuan wishing trees are banyan, and are a popular shrine in Hong Kong. They are located near the Tin Hau Temple in Lamsuan. In many stories of Philippine mythology, the banyan is said to be home to a variety of spirits and demon-like creatures. Maligno associated with it include the Kapre, Duwand, and the Tigbalang. Children at a young age are taught never to point at a fully mature banyan tree for fear of offending the spirits that dwell within them, most especially when they are new to the place. Filipinos always uttered a respectful word or two to the spirits in the banyan tree when they are near one, walking near or around it to avoid any harm. Nearly every Filipino believes that provoking the spirits in a banyan tree can cause one great harm: illness, misfortune, untold suffering, and death. In Guam, the Chamorro people believe in tales of Tautaromona, Duendes, and other spirits. Tautaromona are spirits of the ancient Chamorro that act as guardians to banyan trees. Locations: Thimama Marimanu is the name of a banyan tree in Anantapur district, located about 35 kilometers from Tankaderi in the state of Andhra Pradesh, India. It is present in the Indian Botanical Gardens and is more than 200 years old. It is reported to be the world's biggest tree with a canopy of 19,107 square meters. Its branches spreads over 8 acres. Hence it was recorded as the biggest tree in the Guinness Book of World Records in 1989. One of the largest trees, named the Great Banyan, is found in Kolkata in India. It is said to be more than 250 years old. Another such tree, named Dodoralada mara, is found in the outskirts of Bangalore. Dodoralada mara has a spread around 2.5 acres. One of the most famous of banyan trees was planted on the island of Cabo Verde in Gujarat. Records show that the Cabo Verde tree is more than 300 years old. Maui, Hawaii has a banyan tree planted by William Owen Smith in 1873 in Lahaina's Courthouse Square. It has grown to cover 2/3 of an acre. In rural parts of India, many villages and towns have a traffic circle and a community gathering place around a big old banyan tree. At night, many people come to sit, relax, and chat around it. Usually, a small deity is placed and worshipped at its foot. Tarprom in the Angkor Wat temple complex of Cambodia is well known for the giant banyans that grow up, around, and through its walls. Several banyans can be found near downtown Hilo, Hawaii. Some of them were planted by celebrities throughout the 20th century and form Banyan Drive. Banyans also occur in areas of Australia such as the Daintree rainforest in Queensland's far north, well known as the curtain fig tree on the Atherton tablelands. The first banyan tree in the continental U.S. was planted by Thomas Alvaredson in Fort Myers, Florida, in an attempt with Henry Ford to find a more cost-effective way to produce rubber for car tires. The tree, originally only 4 feet tall, now covers an acre of land on the estate. One large banyan tree called Kalpabata is inside the premises of Jagannath Temple of Puri. It is considered sacred by the devotees and is supposed to be more than 500 years old. A large banyan tree lives in Cypress Gardens, at the Legoland theme park located in Winter Haven, Florida. It was planted in 1939 in a 5-gallon bucket. Fiction Brian Aldiss, in his novel Hothouse, describes a future Earth where a single huge banyan covers half of the globe. Because individual trees discover the ability to join together, as well as drop adventitious roots. In Salman Rushdie's novel, The Satanic Verses, the village of Titulapur is built around an enormous banyan tree, whose roots cover an area half a mile in diameter. The tree is intrinsic to the village, with some villages building shelters in it and others living in the foliage. In Arthur C. Clarke's novel, 2010, Odyssey 2, the banyan tree is used several times as a reference to describe a fictional life form native to Europa. In The Coral Island, R.M. Ballantyne had Jack Martin give a brief but informative description of a banyan tree they found on the island. This description was the first introduction that many British children had to such a concept. Cambodian author Vadi Ratner alludes to a myth about the tree in her 2012 novel In the Shadow of the Banyan, the story of a child's experience in the horrors of the Cambodian genocide. In The Hunger Games, Catching Fire in the arena of the 75th Games, the lightning tree is a banyan. The Avatar, The Last Airbender episode titled The Swamp takes place in a swamp that is actually one organism, the center of which is a giant banyan grove tree. The banyan is part of the coat of arms of Indonesia. It is meant to symbolize the unity of Indonesia, one country with many far-flung roots. As a giant tree, it also symbolizes power. Suharto used it as a logo for his party, the Golongan Karya, taking advantage of the deeply rooted belief of his fellow countrymen and women in the sacred nature of the banyan. The Economist magazine features an opinion column covering topics pertaining to Asia named Banyan. In southern Vanuatu, the clearings under banyan trees are used as traditional traditional meeting places. The quarterly newsletter of the British Friends of Vanuatu Society is named Nabanga, after the local word for banyan. The banyan tree is the name of one of the most fiendishly difficult rooms in the 1984 ZX Spectrum game Jet Set Willy. See also body tree, the Great Banyan.